and welcome back to the review realm. It's Sienna, and today we are going to be discussing the live action How to Train Your Dragon that was just released in theaters, which is the live action of the 2010 film How to Train Your Dragon. But before we get to the review, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So How to Train Your Dragon follows a young Viking named Hiccup, and he is the misfit of the Isle of Berk, which is where they live. Has been at war with the dragons for generations. They've been fighting each other, and Hiccup befriends a young night fury dragon named Toothless, and they build a special bond. But as a result, Hiccup then starts to challenge what the island of Berk has been doing with this war, and whether they should still be even fighting dragons and instead befriending them and live in a symbiotic relationship. And that sort of follows the How to Train Your Dragon movie in a very quick nutshell. Now, the live action remake obviously is going to be compared to the animation because it is the exact same movie. Honestly, for beat to beat, they do change some things here and there, but it's not a big difference. And for a live action remake, I would say that's what majority of the audience wants. They want to see these iconic scenes that they know from their childhood or what they've seen before come to real life and visually see it in a new light, in a different way, not an animation. And I would say this film definitely delivers on that. It has the iconic scene, the iconic dialogue. And out of all the live action remakes we've seen from other studios like Disney, this one does follow beat for beat. It is directed by Dean DeBlois, who also did direct the original How to Train Your Dragon, and they did bring back a lot of the original team, like Gerard Butler, who also voices Stoick, which is Hiccup's father in the animation, and now he also gets to play Stoick in the live action. So they really did decide to follow this film beat for beat, which was a good choice because the fans of the original, it's not that old, but it is definitely considered a classic. People love How to Train Your Dragon. I was there in the movie theaters as a child seeing the original How to Train Your Dragon, and now coming back as an adult and seeing it, I thought it was a really cool, surreal moment. And this film is very faithful to the original, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. I think it's what people want. People want to see the original come to life. So I really have no problems with it being basically the exact same film. Mason Thames, he plays Hiccup in the live action. Overall, I thought he did a decent job. His humor does land very well, although I wish we could have seen more from his body language to sort of show the awkwardness that we get in the animation from the character Hiccup. I do have some problems with Toothless, however. I do like how they stuck with the original design, not changing Toothless' design to be more realistic of a dragon. So they were very faithful in his design. However, he did lose some of his facial emotions, if that makes sense, because Toothless is a very important character, and since he doesn't have any dialogue, we do see what he's thinking in his face and in his body language. And just because the way they did Toothless in the live action with all the CGI, it does lose a little of his face emotion. That obviously there's hints here and there, but it's not as prominent as it was in the animation, which I do think makes everything a little bit dull. And as a result, I do think this whole movie was a duller version of the animation, if that makes sense. Just because, yes, it follows it beat for beat, and it looks stunning, beautiful, the way they did the Isle of Berk. It looks amazing. The colors, the costume, everything looks amazing. However, I do think it's just dull, especially with Tough Nut, Rough Nut, Snout Low, I'm missing one. What am I missing?
5 hours later.
And Fish Legs, thank you. Good job, the internet. With his team, Hiccup's team, they were just duller versions of their animated counterpart, especially Rough Nut and Tough Nut. They're great for comedic relief in the animation, and their jokes just weren't landing, but maybe it's because I'm older now. I don't know. I just felt it was kind of a dry performance, I would say, from it. Astrid, I thought Nico Parker did a fine job as it. And Mason Thames, he did a good job as Hiccup. Obviously, that's a big shoe to fill, and he did a decent job. So the performances were fine. I do think Rough Nut and Tough Nut, it could have been better. It was just okay. I was missing more, and honestly, by the time I left the theater, I was a little bit disappointed, but the comedic moments were really with Hiccup as it was in the animation, and the way he delivers his dry lines, the dry humor was overall very well done, and I do think them paying homage and staying very similar to the animated counterpart was a very good move. Now, one thing that I think it does better than the animation was the flying scenes, just because it feels very realistic. You're in the theater and you feel like you're flying, which was something really cool to see, so I do think it did a better job than the animation, just because you are watching an animation, but when you see it, like, and it feels real, like you're up in the clouds, you see Toothless. It was amazing. The flying scenes, the action scenes were very well done, and I enjoyed it a lot. So that is one thing I think this live action is stronger to its animated counterpart. But I think if you love the How to Train Your Dragon films, you're really gonna love this film, just because it's basically the exact same movie, and it does add something a little bit different. Yes, it does have some parts where you're like, that really doesn't need to be in there. They could have just stuck more closer to the animation, but it was overall a fun movie experience. And with the new Epic Universe, Universal's newest theme park, and them having an Isle of Berks section in it, I think it was really good promotion overall, and people are just loving it. So if you like How to Train Your Dragon, you'll probably love this film, but let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section if you're gonna go see How to Train Your Dragon live action, or if you're just gonna stick to the animation. But have a great day. Bye!